Sarwat Gilani, it is always a pleasure talking to you. How are you?
I'm good, Haroon. It's such a pleasure to see you after a year or so, right?
How have you been? How is lockdown treating you? How is life in Pakistan right now?
I mean, my lockdown was a lot of fun because I went back to my roots. I was doing lots of arts and crafts with my kids, and we got to inspire a lot of other mothers and children to do art and learn through art and play.
I was just interviewing Asim a few minutes ago, and I watched the first episode of Churails last night. And I must say,
Yeah.
I am so impressed with what I've seen. You know,
Yeah.
I was saying my first thought around 10 minutes into the show is, whoa, is Pakistan going to be ready for this?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your thought when you read the script? What was going through your mind?
I knew how Asim writes because I had read Kate's script, and I knew the way he ever so delicately, weaves characters and the story together. So for me to read the script, it was mind blowing. It was simply mind blowing. In my 18 years of career as an actor and also as a viewer, I had not seen anything like this, Haroon. Who writes like this? We were like, where has he come from? We don't know this kind of writing. We don't know this kind of storytelling. So it was literally mind boggling. It was amazing. I was over the moon. I was like, even if I get a really small, teeny weeny role in this, I'd be more happy to do it.
But you know
Yeah.
what I was saying to Asim as well is, how do you block out just how far removed it is from the content around you? Come on, Sarwat, you've worked with these Pakistani channels, you've worked on Hum and ARY and Geo, you've been in one of the biggest franchises that the country has ever produced, Jawani Phir Nayani. There is no
Yeah.
space for something like Churails in that periphery right now. So how did you convince yourself that this would be firstly executed properly and then accepted as well?
You know, Haroon, when somebody writes something so unusual, they know what they're getting into. So we knew that it'll be very tough. We knew that there will be a lot of consequences, but we wanted to jump in this fire. And not just Asim, but each and every actor who read their part, they knew that, we'll have to go in a safe house or something after the release because it's very unusual. You don't get that kind of content here. You also don't get that kind of response here. So when we started talking to our families, telling them or at least I started talking to my family and I told them, what do you guys think? Should I do this? This is kind of tricky. It could either be like amazing or it could really fall flat on the face. But obviously, after 18 years of career, you want to fall flat on your face sometimes in the right puddle. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to take the plunge. I wanted to do this experiment, and I did. And every moment of it was just worth it. And when it comes to how it'll be received, I mean, Haroon, the kind of stuff that's being received and well received, you want to jump out of the balcony, right? Okay, oh my God, ये अच्छा लग रहा है लोगों को, नहीं मैं ये नहीं कर सकती. So I've been doing that since 15 years, playing the victim, the bahu, the girl next door and all that. That was all safe. But this was time to do something different.
And
And
was there a feeling that Pakistani television was not stimulating you anymore as well? Because we know that you haven't done Pakistani TV for a few years now. Was that because there was a lack of good quality writing being offered?
yes, absolutely, Haroon. I'm kind of tired of, just having a narrative where the basic goal of the entire script is marriage. If the girl and guy are eventually going to get married, or if she's not getting married, will she get married? Will anybody choose her? That's just like, oh my God, get me away from it. I'm married. I have 2 kids. I don't have to go through this anymore. So, I knew that the plot is different. I knew that it's going to catch fire. It's going to catch eyes. And that's what I wanted to do. And yes, I am sick and like till here. I am done. I shouldn't say that. I mean, you never know. Something nice comes up. But what was being offered, I've done it to that anyway. So it's not like I was losing out on anything.
You know
In
what?
fact,
Sorry, go ahead.
yes. I mean, in fact, stuff like this doesn't come on every day. So only a fool will sort of be afraid of taking the plunge into something like this.
What makes me so happy is the last time you and I sat down for an interview, we spoke about the representation of women on Pakistani television. And we spoke in detail about how Pakistani women aren't represented fairly because there is only a certain part of the audience who is consuming these traditional dramas as well. But mostly housewives, they're seeing their own domesticated stories play out on screen. And when it comes to films, it's the men of the household who quite often take the families to the cinema. So they want to see what they want to see. Now you have a space where women like yourself are being represented as well. How liberating does that feel for you?
Oh, it's like a dream come true, Haroon. It's like all our prayers, ijtimai duaएं जो हमने की हैं साथ, वो सब अब they're all coming true because apart from me, I'm sure actresses my generation, like I remember Nimra in one of the interviews said that उसकी एज की औरतों की कहानी ही नहीं लिखी जाती, जैसे कि वो मखलूक 40 years के बाद ऊपर मार्स चले जाते हैं. So exactly like that, those kind of roles are not being written. Those kind of unsung heroes, those women who are heroes, their stories aren't being told. Nobody's talking about that. Our dramas start from a college life girl, her issues, her domestic issues, her love life issues, and that's about it. We don't really want to talk about real issues. So Pakistani television, I hope that after Churails it does sort of change, or it has a standard that they need to meet or cross, because it's been too much. It's too much. The same thing, the same stories with different channels, different actors, different directors, same stories.
Is it disappointing, Sarwat, that it's taken for a streaming service from another country to give Pakistanis the opportunity to see something that is actually accurately depicting their own lives?
Absolutely. I think, Pemra and all these people, the kind of facade that they want to keep for the entertainment business or television or film, it's not real. It's really unreal. I mean, look around you. The kind of stuff that's happening around you is ridiculous. Nobody wants to talk about that. So what are you doing? There are too many double standards happening. So yes, it's very unfortunate that Pakistan did not have a platform that could show such a progressive and real story. It had to be some other country to come in and rescue us.
But even in Pakistan, the attitude has shifted slightly, whereby, I think it was incredible when this announcement was made a couple of weeks ago that Z5 were launching 5 original shows from Pakistan. I know they have another 2 in production, but when they made this announcement, I saw this as a real game changer for Pakistani entertainment, because
Yes.
you're being allowed to tell the stories that you can't tell on traditional television. And the audience can be anywhere in the world. What more do you want? But there was backlash even at the idea that Pakistani actors would want to collaborate with an Indian streaming service. How do you respond to that?
I mean, artists all around the world are one. We go without borders. Art, music, artists. I feel music and art is something that you can't put a border around. And you can't lock it up in a box and say, oh, this is Pakistani and this is Indian. Art is art. Artists are artists. They don't care. I don't care. If you leave me in China and tell me I have to make something for the Chinese people, I will make it because that's my job. So to judge artists saying, oh, you can't work there and you shouldn't work there and you shouldn't work in this neighbor's country, that's ridiculous, man. It's just like children. You can polish them. You can help them evolve. You cannot contain them in a box. So the same goes for artists across the border. I feel Indian artists, so many of them, the singers, there are directors who want to work with us. and they will eventually, because you can't stop it. It's just like you can't stop water from flowing and taking its shape. The same way you can't stop artists from going and doing their thing all around. And it's quite okay. It's kind of good that we're creating a bit of attention.
I know you don't mind ruffling some feathers, Sarwat. You're quite confident
Yes,
in that sense. You know, you're happy
absolutely.
to be that rule breaker or that path breaker. I have to say, watching the first episode is so delicious as a spectator, because you're already unraveling so many themes of misogyny, themes of gender discrimination, themes of crime,
Yes.
themes of abuse. There's so much bubbling away underneath. Was there anything that shocked you when you read the script? Was there anything that you were like, whoa, are we really going here?
Yeah, I mean the kind of murder that he's doing all over the series with misogyny and patriarchal mindset, it's unbelievable. And I was over the moon to read or to see that somebody has the guts to address those issues. And that is, I mean, it's gutsy and it's risque, but that's the fun of it, right? I mean, I'm dying to do risque stuff all the time. And I found that in his script. And I was jumping like a 16-year-old girl when I read it. And I was like, wow, he wants me to play Sarah? I mean, I was just blown away. And I'm all for it. It's about time, Haroon. You know, I speak as a public speaker. I go around speaking about child abuse. I talk about women's rights, women's law awareness. And I see the kind of stuff that's going around. And it's about time we talk about those things. It's about time that we talk about those stories in a creative way, not in a crass way, not in a way that will, you know, leave a bad impression, but it'll leave an entertaining thought in your head. It will definitely make you question a lot of things that are happening, and you're just sitting aram se at home doing, oh usne ye bol diya, uski saas ke ghar ye ho gaya, usne tv mein ye dikha diya. Nahi, is web series mein aap dekhenge कि ये सारी insight or awareness or those little details that Asim is giving you leaves those questions subconsciously in your mind. And I haven't been able to answer them. I don't know about people.
You know,
If they will be out.
it's not just thematically that this show is revolutionary, but it's also stylistically as well. What I mean by that is the first scene between yourself and your husband, played by Umair Rana, he pecks you on the forehead. We've never seen that kind of intimacy in a Pakistani drama before. Do you think that this show is palatable to a Pakistani audience? You know, I think in the following scene, one of the other women is using the F word. You know, we've never seen Pakistani women speaking like this.
But I mean, you don't see it on screen, but we see Pakistani women. We have them all around us. We are talking like that. A lot of things that are seen over there, they're so real. And that's what I mean to say, Haroon, that it's about time we get into the realness of things. We talk about the real genre. Genre is not romantic, it's not thrill, it's not drama, it's real. And you know, I mean, fine, television के ऊपर आप ये इतना सब कुछ नहीं दिखा सकते. क्यों नहीं दिखा सकते? आपने 75 साल गुजार दिए हैं टेलीविजन में. आपने क्या दिखाया है? आपने कौन सी रियल टाइम स्टोरी दिखाई है? यहाँ पे औरतों को आप दिखाएं जो मासियां होती हैं, जो who are sitting on the roadside, have a jhadu in their hand and have a beedi in their mouth. What about those lives? Those are also part of Pakistani lives. So why aren't we talking about those lives? Like in the series, you'll see that you know, there's a trophy wife, there's a perfect mother, perfect housewife. There's so many of them around me, and I know that they want to break those chains and they want to be independent, they want to become something of themselves. But why aren't we telling those stories? Why are we scared कि हमारी औरतें खराब हो जाएंगी? So news flash, हमारी काफी औरतें खराब हैं. You know,
Actually,
let's put those minds in perspective now.
but they're not even kharab. They're just being themselves. You know, it's not
They're
even.
being themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing. You know, किसी ने जोर से आवाज में बात करी, किसी ने अपने मियाँ से बदतमीजी की, किसी ने सास से कुछ बोला, वो चुड़ैल है, वो खराब है. So that's what we want to change. We want to bring the realness, the real Pakistani woman who is facing so many issues, and we don't have the guts to show them. We don't have the guts to talk about them.
You know what my concern is, Sarwat? I think you've been spoiled by this experience. I think that if you
Haroon, I can't tell you. I can't go back to normal speed.
So I was going to say, if you were already reluctant to star in those traditional Pakistani dramas, then right now you're probably going to be more reluctant than ever before, because you've now had a taste of this sweet spot where you can have the aesthetics of Karachi and Pakistan and your home, but with the mindset or the freedom of global cinema or global filmmaking or global storytelling. Do you think that this is going to make Pakistani channels up their game? Do you think there's going to be a shift in the way Pakistani producers make content?
No, Haroon, sadly, no. They will stick to their old guns. They will stick to their old routines. I mean, I really hope that it changes something with the newcomers. But I know that the old fish in the market that are ruling, they're not going to change anything. We can only hope that the newcomers who understand the importance of this liberation, the importance of this revolution, I hope they change and they leave all their old scripts behind and they start anew. Because this is a revolution. And I know for a fact that people's mindsets will change. The TV box may not change, the big screen may not change, but it'll change something inside everybody, for sure.
Amazing. Well, on that note of hope, Sarwat, I can't wait to see how well this series does. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. And I was saying to Asim, hopefully we can speak once the series has released and
yes.
we've watched it.
Yes.
And we can carry on and pick up this discussion again.
You know, Haroon, I love your questions and I always think you have such smart questions.
Thank you.
And that was exactly what I wanted to say. I wanted to say that I want you to watch the series and then let's have a chat again.
Thank you. Absolutely, Sarwat. All the very best, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. And I must tell you, you look very fit in this quarantine, has suited you.
Thank you. Sarwat, I love you even more. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Haroon. Love you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Asim Abbasi, it's a pleasure speaking to you today here on the BBC Asian Network. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited because last night I watched the first episode of Churails. I'm one of the few people in the world who's managed to see some of it, and I'm very, very impressed with what I've seen so far. You know, my first thought when I was watching it was, Pakistan is not ready for this. That was my first thought. Tell me about the process of making Churails.
You know, it was after Cake, it was what next? And I was toying with the idea of a couple of films. And this was one of the ideas that I was toying with. And I wanted to make it originally into a film, but like I was 20 pages down writing it. And I was like, this story is too big. The themes that I'm trying to say is big, and it needs a bigger medium, so to speak, like a long form. And the thing is that I had done the whole cinema thing. So I was no longer tied to a particular medium, you know, whether I was tied to the story. And it was just luck at that point in time that Z5 reached out and we had conversations. They asked me to write a Bible, like a series Bible and a script pilot for the first episode. And on the basis of that, they commissioned it. And then it was just, you know, completely no restrictions. So even with Cake, I had to think about log kya kahenge, what will people say, what will, you know, whether it'll be acceptable or not, and, you know, censor board. All of that went out of the window. It was purely storytelling for the sake of storytelling. And I think that's why I'm so excited about Churails.
How do you manipulate your own conditioning though? Because, for example, when you're so used to consuming Pakistani content, be that Pakistani films, as limited as they might be, or Pakistani television shows, for me, even when I saw Umair Rana peck Sarwat Gilani on the forehead, I was like, whoa, we're showing intimacy in this program. How was that process?
I guess in a way I'm lucky that I don't watch a lot of local television.
Right.
So, and I'm only one film old. So I'm quite new. So maybe I'm not shaped in my ways so much that it was easier for me. And really, to be honest, this form, this 10 to 12 episode area felt very natural to me. It in fact felt more natural than film did, because even in film, I'm trying to wrap things up. I write ensembles, so my stories are a little bigger anyway. And this way I got to develop the entire arcs. Got to develop the entire plot. So it was exciting from that point of view. And to be honest, the intimacy came naturally. You were just writing naturally. It was more like, what will a husband and wife do in this scenario? And that was the only thing that's playing in my head. And I was thinking, this is going to be international. I'm writing this for people who watch foreign language stuff as well. And I'm not going to cut corners to make it just specifically Pakistani.
This must be so exciting for you as a filmmaker, because here you are, your last film, Cake, was an international project, but it was targeting that Pakistani audience. You know, it was released as a theatrical film in Pakistan. It starred top stars like Amna Sheikh, Sanam Saeed, Adnan Malik, all of them. But here you've been given an opportunity to make something like what you would consume outside of Pakistan.
Yeah.
How liberating was that experience?
Extremely. And now I don't know what to do next because it was really, there was a lot of creative freedom. We had some interesting conversations about character arcs and about development of those things, like any development process is. But there was complete freedom. I really pushed, and what happened was that Mo kept pushing me, saying, push your boundaries. So I kept pushing my boundaries and kept getting worried that at some point Z5 will say, okay, you're pushing your boundaries too much, but that never happened. And it was like, good, if this is your vision, this is your voice, do it. And that is the experience. I'm very lucky because a lot of filmmakers, especially back home, don't get that.
You know, from what I can see, the show tackles themes like misogyny, gender discrimination, sexism, abuse, so many different angles that you're touching on in this show. How did you come up with the idea or the concept of the show itself? And what are you trying to, or what are you trying to say with the show?
Look, I am trying to raise a lot of questions around these topics. And you know, even from Cake, you'll know that I'm a big fan of keeping things morally ambiguous, as we did with No Repentance for the characters who were involved in sending Romeo away and stuff. So coming back to Churails, these are all flawed characters. They're striving for something good. But their reactions are very human. Their immediate reaction to get revenge and then figure out something bigger and then be part of this revolution. It is all a very human trajectory. And I think that's why these characters are going to be very, very empathetic. I think the themes that I'm trying, so there are all those themes that you mentioned and more. And it's not that I want to give answers, because frankly, I don't have answers. I can't give you something on a plate. I'm saying, look, this is happening around you. So men, are you willing to change? Are you willing to shift this power dynamic that exists between a man and a woman based on their gender, and share your power with the woman so you can both come on an equal footing?
You said that this show is for that international audience who want to consume progressive Pakistani content, right? But at the same time, if you're preaching to the converted, those who already have a mindset like the mindset that you're propagating in this show, do you feel any responsibility to also change mindsets with your show? I mean, there will be a large sector of the audience who consume your Hum TV, ARY, GeoTV
Yes.
dramas, and actually, isn't it those mindsets that need to change?
Both. So I think both. So if I can answer that in two ways. Firstly, I feel the show, even though I want the show to have a global appeal, in that global, Pakistan and India also come into play. So it's not like I've not made this for them, but I have made it with an aesthetic that is international. It is, if you are open to consuming that kind of content, you will enjoy it. Mindsets don't change with one show, unfortunately. They take a lot of years and they take a lot of shows. So there will have to be a lot more Cakes and a lot more Churails to slowly chip away, you know. And the beauty about doing a web series is that it is on their platforms for a very, very long time. It's not 1 week box office receipts and the show is off the cinemas and then much later it comes on a digital release. So the fact is, I think this is going to have legs. People who are going to consume it today, maybe 20-30% will be like, nah, this is not for us. But then I think that number is definitely going to decrease as years pass, because norms change, people's understanding of realities change. So I think that will feed into how much legs this project has. But coming to global, I feel the oppression still exists in first world. I don't think that it changes form. You see, in Pakistan, you will get a crowded bus and a woman will get touched up on it. and in the UK, you will not get a crowded bus, but you will probably still get some idiot who will flash a woman in the middle of the night on a bus. So I think the oppression changes context, it changes form, but it is there. I mean, there's some great shows that are coming out of the UK that are dealing with similar issues right now. We had I May Destroy You that came through BBC. So it did, the themes are very, very relevant. And all the themes that we address it's Pakistani response, but it's a global narrative. And I think it will connect with a lot of international audiences so long as they're open to foreign language stuff.
In terms of the more affluent storyline, so I'm here talking about Sarwat's character and the other character who's a wedding planner.
Yes.
These are characters that have never been represented before. These are parts of Pakistani society that very much exist, but are never given representation. Was that something that or were you particular about that representation? Because it can also seem unrealistic to some people. In fact, I've spoken to people who have seen the trailer for Churails and have said, oh, but like, are there really Pakistanis like that? I mean, are there really women drinking openly in their homes? Like, does that exist? How did you want to make that feel authentic?
Well, firstly, it does exist, and the thing is, I wanted to show a big variety. At least if you take the 4 leads, yes, 2 come from privileged backgrounds, 2 come from underprivileged backgrounds, but beyond that, they come from like, for example, Sarwat's character, happily married, Yasra's character, divorced, single, and then the underprivileged girl. So we showed a big variety, and I said, no matter what your background is, no matter where you're coming from, look how 4 of you unite because of similar issues, because you are being oppressed in a certain way and subjugated in a certain way. I think I will always get some kind of flack for showing privileged people. I think I got it with Cake as well. I'm okay with that because these people exist and it's important for me to show them. I have seen them with my own eyes, and denying them doesn't make them go away. And I don't think it's a privileged show. But I think it's important that if you take them as examples, that the privileged ones represent first world countries and my underprivileged ones represent Pakistan and India, both of those worlds have issues that stem from patriarchal societies and that stem from misogyny.
Were you wary, Asim, about the partnership with Z5? Z5 is giving you a platform that no Pakistani broadcaster can offer you right now. Like you've mentioned, that freedom to express yourself in the way you want, to have content that is unfiltered, uncensored, does not exist in Pakistan at all right now. But were you wary about that collaboration, given the political climate, given that the relationship between the 2 countries, not just the 2 countries, the relationship between the 2 entertainment industries is tense right now as well?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about it. I weighed it. But the benefits of something like this are huge, and I'm not just talking about personal benefits. I am talking about the benefits for the industry. I'm talking about the benefits for our crew, our cast. I mean, hundreds of people were employed in Pakistan. This was shot in Pakistan. It's a huge boost for Pakistani entertainment industry as well, and to be given a creative freedom. Had they said that we want a certain type of content and make it, yes, that's a completely different story. But when someone comes to you and say, hey, we like your talent, we like the work you guys do, tell us what you can do. And this goes to like hundreds of countries. So many people are going to get to hopefully watch this, and it represents Pakistan on a global scale that it has not been done before this. So I think it really, for Pakistan, it is a win-win. Sure, the political climate remains tense, but I think if the politicians are not going to solve it, at least let us try and bridge whatever we can through art. I think it's important.
I must say on record, I think it's the most revolutionary show to represent Pakistanis that I've seen to date. And that's how I felt when I watched Cake. I felt it was the most revolutionary film to represent Pakistanis, but you've done it again with this.
Thank you, Haroon.
If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe, and click the bell icon to keep up to date. For more great audio and video from the BBC, listen on Sounds, watch on iPlayer.